Good that. Good that.
Jello Beats, holla at me.
Hey guys, so welcome back to another video, and today we've got another informative video, but more to do with training. So yesterday we discussed nutrition, so I'm going to touch on a training topic today to make it a bit more varied and obviously provide some varied content for you guys. So today we're going to talk about training with higher frequencies. Now this is a topic that a lot of people will get slightly confused about, and sometimes I've seen it with younger individuals definitely getting a little bit too confused about. And I think for the most part, a caveat for this video is that don't do something that you don't enjoy when you first get into training. If you enjoy following a split that perhaps doesn't meet these criterias, then don't worry about that. As a young individual or young trainee, the most important thing that you can be doing is enjoying your training, getting into your sessions and just killing it. But if you want to take your training to the next level and really optimize what you are doing and maximize your ability to build muscle, this is a video that you should watch. Okay guys, so first point is that the reasons that we train potentially muscle groups with higher frequencies is that scientifically it really has been backed that training muscle groups 2 or even 3 times per week is going to be a more optimal approach, even when training volume is matched comparative to training muscle groups once per week. So once per week training for muscle groups will generally be what's put under the criteria as a bro split. I don't really like that name, but that's what they're kind of deemed to or termed as now. And a bro split will kind of look like sort of chest one day, arms the next, shoulders the next, and then back, and then maybe back width and back thickness. Potentially you're training back 2 times per week. And what people seem to realize is that over the course of time, they will devise a split where body parts tend to be lacking, and they start adding in extra arm days or extra back days, or even training twice a day. And this is something, guys, that we can really easily set up with training muscle groups 2 to 3 times a week, or even smaller muscle groups up to 4 times per week, or even 5 times per week, depending on your recovery capabilities. And this is what people don't realize, is that actually muscle groups have a really decent recovery capability, especially when you're new to training. You can recover really, really fast. And why can you recover really fast is because the loading that you're using at the start of your training career is low. And that's going to create very low systemic fatigue, very low CNS fatigue from session to session. So you're able to perhaps train muscle groups up to 4 times a week and really make great progress out of that. And that's why for younger trainees, people are in their first years of training, I really do see the benefit of either full body or definitely upper lower splits in terms of just really maximizing your ability to get to these high frequencies, getting the amount of work that you can potentially recover from and still progress, and just optimize your ability to build muscle. This is kind of referring to the idea of really pushing your maximum recoverable volume and at least getting to those volumes, because you're not realistically with a 1 body part split, you're not going to be able to do that. Or you will, but you will in a very, very fucked up fashion. Okay, so why with a single body part split will you get potentially to your maximum recoverability, or your MRV, your maximum recoverable volume? Why will you get there, and why will it be fucked up? It will be fucked up because your intra-session maximum recoverable volume, or your cumulative fatigue across the session, will be really high by trying to achieve the maximum amount of work that you can do for a body part in one single session. So let's take into account we're training our chest. So chest Mondays. We go through a chest session and you've got your flat dumbbell chest press, followed by your incline dumbbell chest press, followed by your decline barbell bench press, followed by your incline fly, followed by a pec deck, followed by maybe a pullover or some sort of accessory. Do you really think that you're able to perform all those exercises with the adequate intensities and also try to progress from what you did last week or the week prior? Do you think you're really realistically able to do that? Probably not. Because at some point, your performance on your chest, your ability to contract your chest, your ability to utilize your chest in these exercises is drastically dropped off. And that's down to the session fatigue, the accumulative fatigue that you're working up from exercise to exercise. So have a think about this. If we're able to train some of those movements, so let's say we pick your flat dumbbell chest press and your incline dumbbell press. So we just do those two out of all those movements that you're doing. Or we just pick, alternatively, more realistically, what we do is we pick 1 or 2 presses and a fly. And instead of doing all the movements in one session, we pick those 2 or 3, and then we do those 3 at the start of the week in your first push session or your upper body session, and then later in the week you'd come back to complete the rest of the work. So your decline presses, maybe an alternative fly or an alternative pec deck, you do them later in the week. And why does that prove beneficial? That's because you've allowed the fatigue from your chest work to go down, and you're able to perform those movements at a higher intensity with potential better ability to progress, better ability to apply progression or overload. The idea that all the movements that you can't do effectively at the end of your chest session, that's what we like to deem as junk volume. It's volume that it's pointless. It's pointless doing because you're no longer getting a contraction in your chest and you're just excessively putting in training volume. It's going to do you no good. And you'd be much better off coming back later in the week and doing that work and doing it well. So that's point number 2. Point number 3 is going to be your feedback when you start doing higher frequency training. So if you move from a single body part split or perhaps a 1 to 2 body part split, you could argue that push-pull is sometimes 2 body parts. But let's say you're moving from those sort of single body part splits over to a higher frequency. So you're basically training more muscle groups in one session effectively. That's going to be the idea of this, because setting up single body part splits with high frequencies is going to be all over the place. You have to be training 2-3 times a day, which is just not feasible. So the idea is people will feed back, and I've had clients do this, and they'll say, but I don't feel like I've trained the muscle group as hard as I could do. I don't feel trashed. I don't feel like I've gone in for my chest Monday and I've come out and I can barely pick up anything. I can barely move my chest. And the next day, my chest is so sore that I can barely push myself out of my bed. That, guys, that's not the goal. Now, I went to the Mike Israel conference or seminar. I don't think we decided on what it was. So I went there and Mike had a really good topic or talk on soreness. Now, DOMS, like delayed onset of muscle soreness, is basically, it will lead or give us signs of potential hypertrophy. So there's a lot of things that relate with DOMS or that cause DOMS that also are relative to hypertrophy, so making gains, making progress. But at the same time, chasing purely soreness is not potentially maximizing the things that really do give us the most optimal environment for hypertrophy, which is progressive overload. Are we progressing in the gym? Are we progressing something? Are we progressing our training volume in some regard? If we chase purely soreness, there's a lot of people in my gym or in gyms around the UK that will do the same fucking workout every single week for their chest. The same dumbbells, the same weight, the same reps and the same sets. Do they get sore after that workout every single time? Yes. Are they forcing overload? No. Why are they not? Because every single time they've done the same workout, there is nothing progressing. And that's why that just chasing soreness is not potentially leading you down the best route for hypertrophy. Okay? So we don't want to focus so much on being trashed. We want to focus more so on, are we progressing and are we forcing overload? If we are, then that's probably potentiating more hypertrophy than just feeling trashed. So you're going to feel different when you transfer onto a full body or upper lower or a push-pull leg split. You're going to feel different because comparative to your smashing your chest session, you're going to feel like you're hitting less angles, you're going to feel like you're doing less exercises. But in reality, just think of the quality that you are achieving by doing so, because the quality is drastically improved. And your ability to progress, beat the logbook, beat numbers. Get obsessed with that. Don't get obsessed with just always chasing soreness. Soreness is good. We need moderate soreness to prove that we are probably training muscle groups with enough training volume and we are doing movements correctly, but we don't need excessive soreness to get hypertrophy. We just don't. So, finally, to cover how, or just briefly how we potentially are going over to higher frequency training. So push-pull legs or upper-lower splits. I generally like to recommend upper-lower splits for people who are sort of under 2 years of training. And I put in brackets sometimes. And the reason I put sometimes is because there's plenty of people out there that have trained for way longer than 2 years that are still running upper-lower splits. And they're doing great on them and they're making progress. So you don't have to be under 2 years to be on an upper-lower split, just like you don't have to train for more than 2 years to be on a push-pull legs. Almost knocked the whiteboard off. It's basically preference and how well are you progressing and what suits your lifestyle. If you've got a busy lifestyle, are you only able to train 4 days a week? If you are, then probably upper-lower is better. But if you can't train, if you can train more than 4 times per week, then you can probably move on to something like a push-pull legs where you're training something like 5-6 times per week. So it's really sort of lifestyle preference based as to which one you pick. I do have really good articles. I'm blowing my own trumpet, but I do have good articles in terms of setting up a push-pull leg split and setting up an upper-lower split. So I'll link my website down below with the articles and you can go and read them in more specific realms in terms of setting up those two splits. But the thing that I really want you guys and girls to take away from this video is that when you do go onto a push-pull leg split or an upper-lower split, do not, I repeat, do not get greedy with training volume. We do this, we split up your training not to do more training volume, but to do better quality training volume. This is what I referred back to at the start of the video. We do this to do better training volume quality and to allow ourselves to progress in an efficient manner that allows longevity. If we do more, if we try and take our chest volume and we just try and put it into a push session with shoulders and with triceps, so you do your normal chest day followed by shoulders followed by triceps, you will massively overreach really quick because you've effectively doubled your training volume by doing 2 chest days alongside 2 shoulder days, 2 tricep days, all into 2 sessions. What we want to do is we want to take all the volume from that chest session, split it into the 2 push sessions that you've got in the week. So we split volume. We don't just do more, we split what we've already got. And then we aim to either add more or progress from there. And the best thing that you can do realistically is just start on the lower end. Start with something that's a bit conservative, so that if you don't recover, well, if you probably will recover from something conservative, that's the idea, so that then you can only add to that. It's better to add to it rather than go into your first sort of mesocycle or first few weeks of a push-pull legs or upper-lower split with higher frequencies and feel like, fuck, like I can't recover. That's not good because you've overreached too quick and you'll have to deload really, really fast. You have to deload 2 weeks into a mesocycle. And that's not what we want. We want at least 4 to 5 good weeks of training before we have to deload, at least. So that's what I wanted to cover today, guys. I hope this makes sense. This is only sort of touching on the topic. So I didn't want to make the video too long because I could have easily quite bang on about this for ages. So hope this all makes sense, and of course any questions that you have got on training with higher frequencies or how to set up your training in order to achieve 2 to 3 times per week with muscle groups, and potentially I can make a video on the sort of lagging body parts and how we'd sort of set up training for those. But any questions, of course, please ask. And guys, hope you have a good Tuesday. I've got a lower body session later today, which I'm sort of quite nervous / excited about. And yeah, hope you enjoy your Tuesday, guys. Have a good session if you're training, and we will speak soon. Cheers, guys.